I'm trying to keep the family farm in Wyoming from my adopted son and his wife, who want to sell it to a large corporation. Just over a year after my wife's death, I discovered a hidden camera on her grave, capturing a woman who looks exactly like her, wearing the bracelet I once gave her. My wife's death was likely faked, and I will find the truth at all costs. Welcome to Brian's Stories. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Drop a comment down below telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. I read every single comment, and it helps me to know I'm not alone in this. My name is Elias Thorne, and I'm 78 years old. I live alone on Iron Valley Ranch in Wyoming, a wide stretch of rolling pastures, old cottonwoods, and abandoned iron mine shafts that have been in my family for generations. This land is everything to me. It's where I grew up, where I brought my wife Eleanor home as a young bride, and where we poured 52 years of marriage, hard work and love into every acre. Eleanor was the heart of this place. She kept the books, planned ahead, and held us all together. We adopted a boy named Owen when he was 10, after he lost his parents. We raised him as our own, taught him the ranch, and always believed he'd carry it on one day. A little over a year ago, Eleanor passed away. Since then, the house has felt empty, the days long and the nights even longer. I wander the rooms, touch her things, and sometimes swear I catch the faint scent of her rose perfume in the library where she spent so much time. But now, Owen and his wife Veronica, who live in the city, keep pushing me to sell the ranch to a big corporation called Titan Energy. They say it's for my own good, that I'm too old to manage it alone, that the money would give me an easy retirement. I know better. They see profit where I see legacy. They want to drill and tear up the land we promised to protect. I won't let that happen. This ranch is the last real piece of Eleanor I have left, and I'll fight to keep it whole, no matter what it takes. That fight started the morning I found a tiny digital camera hidden in the funeral wreath on her grave. When I played the video, I saw a woman with her back turned, platinum hair just like Eleanor's, wearing the diamond bracelet I gave her on our 30th anniversary. The screen went black before I could see her face, but that bracelet was unmistakable. Now I'm left wondering, was this some cruel trick, or is there a far bigger secret behind my wife's death? I don't know yet. But for Eleanor, for our legacy, and for the promise we made each other, I'm going to find out. That tiny camera had been burning a hole in my pocket since I found it at the grave yesterday. I brought it home, wondering if it was a sick joke or irrefutable evidence that a bigger secret was lurking behind my wife Eleanor's death. The woman with her back turned, the platinum hair, and above all, the sparkling diamond bracelet on her wrist, the one I had placed on Eleanor's hand 30 years ago. This morning, I woke up before sunrise. Iron Valley Ranch stretched around me, the brown winter pasture rolling, and on the hills, the dark openings of the abandoned iron mine. Shafts looked down like empty eyes. I walked along the lower meadows for an hour, constantly touching my pocket to make sure the camera was still there. When the sun finally rose, I turned back inside. I needed to be in the place where Eleanor spent so many of her days. I walked down the hall to the library. This room had always been more hers than mine. The wide oak table in the center was still, covered with the work she left behind. Thick folders of legal paperwork, detailed blueprints of property boundaries, maps showing the old mine tunnels winding beneath the land. She understood every line and note on those pages better than anyone alive. I walked slowly across the room and stopped before the tall grandfather clock standing in the corner. It had been in my family longer than I had been alive. I reached out and placed my palm on the cool glass face. Still keeping perfect time, old friend, I muttered to the clock, my voice low and gravelly in the empty room, and then it came, gentle but unmistakable, the scent of her rose perfume drifting through the air, not imagined, Not faint memory, but real enough to catch in my throat. The same fragrance she dabbed behind her ears for 52 years. "Eleanor," I said aloud, louder this time, turning in a slow circle. "Are you here, darling?" Of course there was no answer, only the steady tick of the clock and the low moan of wind against the windows. I breathed deep, following that scent. It seemed strongest toward the far corner, behind the tall bookshelf that holds the deed boxes. I walked over, heart pounding harder than it should. There's a narrow panel door set into the wall. There, easy to miss unless you know it's there. Eleanor kept extra files inside, things she didn't want, cluttering the main shelves. I reached for the brass handle and froze. The lock had been pried open. Fresh scratches marred the plate. Metal bent where a tool forced it. No dust on the marks, no time for them to dull. Someone had done this recently. I pushed the door wide, half expecting chaos inside, papers thrown about, boxes emptied. "What in the world?" I whispered, stepping closer. But everything sat exactly as she'd arranged it. Neat stacks of folders, sealed boxes with her careful labels. Nothing taken, nothing disturbed except the broken lock. I stood there staring, the faint rose perfume still lingering, now mixing with the dry smell of old paper and dust. My mind raced back to the camera, to that bracelet on a wrist that couldn't belong to a dead woman. The broken lock and the whisper of rose perfume haunted me all afternoon. Someone had been in the house, going through Eleanor's things, and the thought gave me chills. I paced the library, trying to calm my pounding heart. Every shadow in the room felt suspicious. I took the small camera out of my pocket again, turning it over and over in my hand. I was about to head down to the kitchen when I heard tires crunching on the gravel outside. A black SUV pulled up in front of the house. My stomach tightened when I saw who stepped out. Owen and Veronica. They hadn't called, hadn't announced their arrival. Owen got out of the driver's seat, and Veronica stepped out of the passenger side, her sleek black hair pulled back in a bun, clutching a leather folder under her arm. I met them at the door before they could knock. "Owen, Veronica, what brings you all the way out here without a call?" Owen shifted his weight, avoiding my eyes. "Dad, we need to talk. It's important." Veronica smiled that tight smile of hers. "May we come in, Elias? It's cold out here." I stepped aside and let them into the living room. The fire was low, but the room still held some warmth. They sat on the couch without taking off their coats. I stayed standing, arms crossed. Owen cleared his throat. "Dad, we've been worried about you, managing this place alone." Veronica opened the folder and pulled out a thick document. "We've found something that changes everything. A second will. Mother made it 6 months before she passed." She slid it across the coffee table toward me. I picked it up slowly, my hands steady even though my insides weren't. The paper looked official, stamped and notarized, with Eleanor's signature at the bottom. It stated clearly that upon her death, control of the ranch would pass to Owen, and that I would retain only life rights. "This can't be right," I said quietly. "Eleanor and I talked about this 100 times. The ranch stays whole. It goes to Owen eventually, but not like this." Veronica leaned forward. "It's valid, Elias. We've had it verified. And Owen's decision is to sell to Titan Energy. They've made a generous offer. You'll have more than enough for a peaceful retirement." Owen finally looked at me. "It's for your own good, Dad. You shouldn't be out here alone." I stared at him, feeling something cold settle in my chest. "For my own good. This land is my life. It's your mother's life. We built it together." Veronica's voice stayed calm and sharp. "Mother taught us many things. She taught us that sometimes love requires cruelty." The words hit me like a slap. I looked at Owen, waiting for him to protest, to say she was wrong. But he just sat there, eyes on the floor. "Love requires cruelty," I repeated, my voice low. "Is that what you both believe now?" Veronica didn't blink. "It's the truth. Hard choices have to be made for the greater good. Mother understood that. And so should you." I sat down heavily in my armchair, the fake will still in my hand. The room felt smaller suddenly. the walls closing in. These two people, my son and the woman he married, were sitting in my house telling me my wife's final wish was to strip me of everything. We built. Before I could find words, Veronica reached into the folder again and pulled out another document. This one was even thicker, bound in blue cover stock. She placed it gently on the table. "And there's this," she said. "A life insurance policy on you, Elias. Massive coverage. Signed by you last year. Owen and I are the sole beneficiaries." I stared at the paper. My signature was there at the bottom, clear as day, but I had no memory of signing any such thing. The date was from a routine checkup in town, when they'd driven me because the roads were icy. "You think I'm going to die soon and leave you, Rich?" I asked, hearing the shake in my own voice. Veronica gathered the papers back into her folder. "We're just planning ahead, like responsible adults." Owen stood up then. "We'll give you time to think it over, Dad. But the offer from Titan won't wait forever." They walked to the door without another word. I followed, watching them climb into the SUV and drive away, dust trailing behind on the dirt road. The life insurance policy and that so-called second will lay on the coffee table like poison. This declaration didn't just target me. It outlined the possibility that the conflict would escalate into an all-out bloody war. I knew I had to fight back. I needed someone who understood these matters, someone Eleanor trusted. I thought of Lillian Vance, an estate expert in town, sharp as a tack. Eleanor had consulted her about updating our paperwork. I gathered the documents, stuffed them into a manila envelope, grabbed my coat, and headed into town. The entire way, I kept thinking about Owen's face. He hadn't defended me. He didn't even look surprised. I arrived at Lillian's office, a small brick building on Main Street. Her receptionist waved me through. Lillian was sitting at her desk, her silver hair pulled back in a bun, reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked up and smiled when she saw me. "Elias Thorne, been a while, come on in. How are you holding up?" I sat down across from her and slid the envelope over. "Not good, Lillian. Owen and Veronica showed up yesterday with some papers that don't sit right. I need your eyes on them." She opened the envelope and spread everything out. Her expression stayed calm at first, but as she flipped through the second will, her brow furrowed. She compared signatures, checked dates, held pages up to the light. "This supposed second will," she said after a few minutes. "The signature looks close, but there are irregularities. The ink weight is off, and the notary's stamp. I've seen this firm's work before. Something's not adding up." She picked up the insurance policy next. "And this? Elias, did you really sign for coverage this size?" I shook my head. "I signed some routine forms at the doctor's office last winter. Owen drove me, but nothing like this." Lillian leaned back, taking off her glasses. "This smells like forgery to me. And if they're pushing a sale to Titan Energy on top of it, we need to verify that notary right away." She reached for her phone and dialed the number, printed on the stamp. An old firm out of Cheyenne that Eleanor had used years ago. She put it on speaker so I could hear. The line rang twice before a man's voice answered, older, cautious. "Harlan Notary Services. Hello, this is Lillian Vance, estate attorney. I'm inquiring about a document notarized by your office last year, the Steel and Roses file." There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. Then a whisper, urgent and low. "This is the Steel and Roses file. You shouldn't—" The line went dead. Cut clean, like someone yanked the cord. Lillian stared at the phone, then redialed. "Busy signal." She tried again. "Same thing. That's no coincidence," she said quietly. "Someone doesn't want us asking questions." I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather outside. Steel and roses. Eleanor used to call our life that sometimes. The hard metal of the land and the soft beauty she brought to it. Hearing it now from a stranger's lips made the hairs on my neck stand up. We sat there a moment, the office quiet except for the tick of a wall clock. Lillian started making notes, pulling up records on her computer. I watched her work, grateful for her steady hands when mine wanted to shake. Meanwhile, miles away in the city, Veronica sat at her sleek glass desk in the apartment she shared with Owen. Her phone buzzed with a missed call notification, the number traced back to Lillian Vance's office. A slow, cryptic smile spread across her face as she opened an encrypted messaging app. She typed quickly, fingers precise. The bird has started singing. She hit send to a contact listed only by a string of numbers, then set the phone down, satisfied. Someone is hiding something, and the truth is more complex than a typical property dispute. It's a hunt. I drove home from Lillian's office with the truck, window cracked open. She promised to dig deeper into the notary and the forgeries. But we both knew time wasn't on our side. Owen and Veronica were moving fast. The next morning I woke up to the rumble of a courier truck pulling up the long driveway. I signed for a thick overnight envelope bearing the Titan Energy logo. I carried it inside. Placing it on the kitchen table, I slit the top edge with a knife and pulled out the papers. The cover letter announced that Titan Energy would begin a full land survey starting next week, citing the second will Owen and Veronica had shown me as authorization. Then came the real shock. Attached was a notice of county tax lien for 3 years of unpaid property taxes. The sum was staggering. The notice stipulated that without full payment, within 72 hours, foreclosure proceedings would begin immediately. I sank into the chair. Eleanor had always been meticulous about taxes. There was no way this debt was real. I flipped through the pages. The signatures on the old returns weren't hers. Forgeries, just like the will. How could you let this happen to us? Owen, I muttered to the empty kitchen. But deep down, I knew he and Veronica were behind it, piling on pressure until I cracked and signed. The ranch away. I called Lillian right away. She answered on the second ring. Elias, what's wrong? Titan sent a package. Survey notice and a massive tax line. Says foreclosure in 3 days if I don't pay. She was quiet a moment. Bring it in. We'll fight it. Tax fraud on top of everything else. This is escalation. I spent the afternoon going through Eleanor's old files myself, pulling drawers, checking ledgers, everything balanced. Payments recorded, receipts attached. This debt was manufactured, another weapon to force the sale. By evening I was worn out, sitting at the table with the envelope still open in front of me. The house creaked around me, wind howling outside. I picked up the tax notice again, running my finger down the long columns of numbers, when something slipped out from between the pages and fluttered to the tabletop. A single dried red rose petal, brittle and dark, clipped to the corner of the lane with a small silver paperclip. My hand trembled as I picked it up. The petal was from a deep crimson rose, the kind Eleanor grew in her garden behind the house. She used to dry them between book pages, keep them for potpourri or little gifts. I brought it close, and there was the faintest trace of her perfume, still clinging to it. I turned it over carefully. No note, no writing, just the petal. My breath came short. First the camera with her bracelet, then the scent in the library, the pride lock, the steel and roses file, and now this, tucked inside a document meant to destroy me. I couldn't stop turning it over in my fingers, feeling the fragile edges crumble. Eleanor's roses, Eleanor's perfume, Eleanor's bracelet on that camera. Everything pointed to her, reaching out from somewhere I couldn't understand yet. Another envelope arrived the next day, this one from Owen and Veronica's lawyer. Inside were the sales papers for the ranch, already prepared, with a blank line waiting for my signature. A cover letter urged me to consider my future, comfort and avoid unnecessary legal hardship. The 72-hour foreclosure clock was ticking loud in my head. Sell the land and live peacefully in some quiet apartment in town. No more worries about bills or weather or broken fences or fight. Drag this through courts I couldn't afford. Risk losing everything anyway, and maybe end up with nothing but debt and bitterness. I sat in the living room all afternoon, Fire dying in the hearth. Papers spread out in front of me. The house felt heavier than ever. I kept hearing Veronica's cold words in my mind. "Love requires cruelty," I muttered aloud, shaking my head. "Eleanor, what would you do?" The quiet pressed in until I couldn't stand it. I got up and paced the floor, boots wearing the same path in the rug. "Sign it and be done," I said to myself, stopping at the window to stare out at the pastures. "Walk away, let them have it." But then I pictured the hills torn open, machines roaring where cattle once grazed, those old mine shafts filled with poison runoff. I pictured Eleanor's face the day we first rode, this land together. "No," I whispered, "I can't." I went to the bedroom and pulled the little digital camera from the drawer where I'd kept it, safe. It hadn't worked since that day at the grave, but maybe there was more. I pressed buttons at random, held the power longer, tilted it in the light. "Come on, darling, show me something," I said under my breath. The screen finally flickered weakly to life, the battery nearly dead. But a new file icon blinked in the corner that I hadn't noticed before. It was labeled simply Light. I opened it. The video was dark at first, with only faint pulses of light, like someone turning a flashlight on and off. Flash. Long, short, long, short. My heart began to pound. I'd learned basic Morse code years ago. I grabbed a pencil and paper, playing it frame by frame, writing the dots and dashes. It spelled out numbers, latitude and longitude. Coordinates. I cross-referenced them on an old atlas in the library. They pointed to a location right here on the ranch, deep in the hills, near one of the abandoned mine entrances, but not exactly there. Somewhere concealed. "Eleanor," I said softly, tracing the mark on the map with my finger. "You left me a path. The sales contract lay waiting on the table. Sign it, and all of this would stop. Or follow these coordinates into the cold hills, pursue whatever she had hidden, and continue the fight against the people who were once family." I thought of her promise at the grave, the bracelet, the petal, the perfume. I had to take it. "No more running," I told the empty room. "I'm going to find what you hid." I folded the sales papers once and set them aside. No signature. I pulled on my heavy coat, grabbed a flashlight, the camera, and the map I'd marked. The sun was already low, sky turning bruised purple. I stepped out the door, locked it behind me, and started toward the truck. I had made my choice. Follow the coordinates, find whatever light Eleanor had left in this darkness. I was halfway down the porch steps when tires crunched on gravel. Headlights swept across the yard. Veronica's sleek black car pulled up sharp at the ranch gate, blocking the drive. She stepped out alone, coat collar turned up against the wind, eyes fixed on me. The wrong choice, signing, would create chaos. But following this clue might be even more dangerous because Veronica has found out. Veronica stood there in the fading light, hands in her coat pockets, staring up at me on the porch. The wrong choice, signing, would create chaos. But following this clue might be even more dangerous because Veronica has found out. She didn't say a word at first, just watched me with those sharp eyes, like she could read every thought in my head. "Elias," she finally said, voice calm as ice. "Going somewhere." I gripped the map tighter in my pocket, just checking fences before dark. She smiled, small and knowing. "In the hills? This late? Don't lie to me. I know about the coordinates." My blood went cold. "How could you possibly—" "Doesn't matter," she cut in. "Whatever you think you're chasing, it's over. Sign the papers tonight, or tomorrow the surveyors come anyway. And the foreclosure starts." I stepped down one stair. "I'm not signing anything." Her smile faded. "Then you'll lose everything the hard way. Think about that." She turned, got back in her car, and drove off slow, headlights cutting through the dusk. I stood there a long minute, heart hammering. She knew. Somehow she knew about the camera, the message. But I wasn't turning back now. I called Lillian first thing in the morning. Told her everything, the coordinates, Veronica showing up. "The threat? Those numbers point inside the house?" she asked. voice sharp over the phone. "Not exactly inside," I said, "but close. Under the library, I think. There's that old storage door with the pride lock. Meet me there in an hour," she said. "We go together. If Eleanor's leaving clues, we need to see where they lead before anyone else does." Lillian arrived in her sensible sedan, bundled in a wool coat, carrying a leather satchel with legal pads and a flashlight. We went straight to the library. The room felt different in daylight, sunlight slanting through the windows onto the blueprints and folders still scattered on the table. I showed her the marked map. The coordinates line up almost exactly with this corner. We moved the tall bookshelf together, muscles straining against the weight. Behind it, the narrow panel door stood slightly ajar, the broken lock glinting. I pulled it open wider. Stone steps led down into darkness, rough-hewn like the old mine tunnels, but narrower, deliberate. "Eleanor had this built years ago," I said quietly. "Said it was for storm shelter or extra storage. I never came down much." Lillian shone her light down the stairs. "Smells damp and cold." We descended carefully, my knees protesting each step. The air grew heavier, thick with earth and something metallic. At the bottom, a short passage opened into a small chamber, walls reinforced with timber beams. Another door waited there, steel this time, with a simple handle but no visible lock. I reached for it, hesitating. "This wasn't here before." "Open it," Lillian whispered. I pulled the handle. The door swung outward, smooth and silent. A cold gust rushed up at us, carrying the sharp bite of rusty metal and, underneath it, the unmistakable faint trace of roses. We stepped inside, flashlights cutting through the dark. The beam landed on banks of equipment, monitors dark and silent, a desk with papers neatly stacked, cables running into the walls. A small server rack hummed low in the corner. It looked like some kind of control room, sophisticated, hidden right under my house. "My God," Lillian breathed. "Eleanor built this?" I moved closer, shining my light over the desk. A laptop sat closed in the center, dust-free. Beside it, a single dried rose in a small vase. I reached for the door to steady myself, pushing it fully open. A sharp clack echoed loud in the space, metal on metal. Somewhere above us, a relay clicked. Lillian froze. "What was that?" Then we heard it. Fast footsteps overhead, deliberate and hurried, crossing the library floor, straight toward the hidden panel. That sharp clack echoed like a gunshot in the small space, and the footsteps overhead came faster, pounding straight for the hidden panel. Inside the cellar is something worse than they thought. A sophisticated control room, and the hunter is about to arrive. Lillian grabbed my arm, eyes wide in the flashlight beam. "Someone's coming," she whispered. "We have to hide what we find. Now." We moved quick, shining lights over the desk. File folders sat neat in a metal tray, labeled in Eleanor's precise handwriting. Lillian pulled the top one while I scanned the monitors, still dark, and the server rack humming steady. "Medical records," Lillian said low. "Flipping pages, hospital letters, oncology reports. Elias, Eleanor had pancreatic cancer. Advanced. Doctors gave her 4 to 6 months at best. This is dated 18 months ago." The words hit me hard. I remembered her getting tired easier. Losing weight, she blamed on stress from ranch. Finances. She'd gone to appointments alone. Said they were routine checkups. Never told me the truth. "Why wouldn't she say anything?" I muttered. Voice thick. "We could have fought it together." Lillian kept reading, face pale. "She didn't want you to watch her fade. Look at these notes. She was managing symptoms, experimental treatments. But the prognosis didn't change." She set the medical file aside and reached for a thicker envelope underneath. The seal was broken, FBI return address stamped clear. Inside was a letter, handwritten on plain paper. Eleanor's script unmistakable. Lillian read aloud, voice shaking a little. "To the Federal Bureau of Investigation, I have evidence that Titan Energy, operating through local subsidiaries, is engaged in large-scale money laundering using abandoned mine properties in Wyoming as cover. Transactions routed through shell companies, falsified environmental reports to secure drilling rights. I'm prepared to provide documentation and testimony. It's signed Eleanor Thorne, with dates and account numbers listed. I leaned against the desk, head spinning. Titan Energy, the same company pushing to buy the ranch. The ones behind the survey threats. Eleanor had been investigating them, gathering proof while she was dying. She knew, I said. All this time, she knew what they were doing under our land. Lillian nodded slow. And Owen, if he was helping rush the sale, maybe he knew too. We heard the bookshelf scrape above us, someone forcing it aside. No time left. Lillian shoved the FBI letter back into the envelope. But a small slip of paper fluttered out from underneath it, landing face up on the desk. Handwritten. Eleanor's writing again. Missed 1 T3 at 18. Lillian picked it up, frowning. T3? Medication? She was on thyroid supplements. Sometimes, but this doesn't look like a reminder. I stared at the note. Mind racing. T3. 3. Or a code. Missed 1 dose at 6 p.m. But why hide it under an FBI letter? The footsteps reach the top of the stairs now, deliberate and heavy. The subplot reveals an emotion-reversing piece of information. Eleanor was sick, but right under that letter, there is a handwritten note. Missed 1 T3 at Pursuit. The remaining piece is still hidden. Is Eleanor really dead, and why was she so secretive? That handwritten note, missed 1 T3 at 18 disarm, hung in the air between us like a riddle we didn't have time to solve. The remaining piece is still hidden. Is Eleanor really dead? And why was she so secretive? The footsteps and the stairs grew louder, closer, and Lillian shoved the papers back into the drawer, slamming it shut just as my eyes landed on the laptop sitting closed on the desk. Look, I whispered, pointing. That's got to be it. The laptop was sleek, newer than anything Eleanor ever used upstairs. A small sticky note on the lid read, Rose Garden in her handwriting. Lillian flipped it open. The screen woke immediately. No password prompt yet, but a login box waited. Try it, I said. The rose garden behind the house, she named it Crimson Legacy. Lillian typed Crimson Legacy. Nothing. Wrong. Try just Rose Garden, I urged. She did. The screen unlocked with a soft chime, desktop appearing clean except for one video. File icon labeled For Elias. We exchanged a glance. The footsteps were at the door now. The panel scraping. No time. Lillian double-clicked the file. The media player opened full screen. There she was, Eleanor, sitting in a plain room with soft light behind, her platinum hair pulled back, looking thinner but unmistakably alive. My breath caught hard in my chest. She stared straight into the camera, eyes clear and strong. Elias, she began, voice steady. The same voice that had calmed me through 52 years of storms. If you're watching this, you've found my hiding place. I'm sorry for the pain I've caused you. I know you buried an empty urn. I know you've grieved, but I had no choice. Lillian gripped my arm as we leaned closer. I was dying, Eleanor continued. The cancer was aggressive. Doctors gave me months, maybe less. But in those months, I uncovered something that couldn't wait. Titan Energy has been using old mine shafts across the state, including ours, to launder money, hundreds of millions routed through fake environmental cleanup funds. I found the proof in their filings, hidden transfers, forged reports. She paused, leaning forward. Owen and Veronica knew about my illness. They thought I was too weak to fight. They pushed the sale hard, thinking they'd profit quick. But I turned that against them. I faked my death to escape their control, to work without interference. The cellar door above slammed open fully. Heavy boots hit the stone steps. Lillian muted the video fast, but Eleanor kept talking silently on the screen, mouth moving, eyes intense. We had seconds. I reached to close the laptop, but Lillian stopped me. "Keep it playing," she hissed. "We need to hear the rest." Eleanor was saying something about a plan, about using the time she had left, when the steps reached the bottom. The steel door we'd come through swung wide. Veronica stepped in, black coat swirling, a small stun gun steady in her hand. Her face was calm, eyes cold. "Step away from the computer," she said quietly. "Now, new evidence appears, but it's uncertain if it's real or a trap set by Veronica." Veronica stood in the doorway, stun gun leveled steady at us, her face lit by the glow of Eleanor's frozen image on the screen. "New evidence appears, but it's uncertain if it's real or a trap set by Veronica. The puppet master has shown her face." Lillian and I raised our hands, slow, backing away from the desk. "Close it," Veronica said, voice flat. "Now." Lillian reached out and snapped the laptop shut. The room plunged into flashlight beams and shadows. Veronica stepped forward, snatched the computer with her free hand, and tucked it under her arm. "You shouldn't have come down here," she said. "Either of you." I found my voice, rough and shaking. "That's Eleanor, alive, talking about faking her death." "What the hell is going on, Veronica?" She laughed once, short and bitter. "Oh, Elias, always the last to know. Yes, she's alive, hiding somewhere, playing detective. But what you heard is only half the story." Lillian spoke up, calm but firm. "We heard enough. Titan energy laundering money. Her working with the FBI." Veronica cut her off. "The FBI? Is that what she told you?" She shook her head. "Eleanor went rogue. Faked her death, yes, but not to expose anyone noble. She stole data, hacked accounts, tried to frame Owen for things he never did. She's a cyber criminal now, Elias. Desperate, dying, and dangerous. She's trying to trap her own son to cover her tracks." I stared at her, heart pounding. Eleanor's face still burned in my mind, her voice steady and sure. "That doesn't sound like her." "Of course it doesn't," Veronica said. Almost gentle. "You only saw the good parts. But cancer changes people, makes them bitter." She found out Owen and I were moving forward, with the sale perfectly legal, and she couldn't stand losing control. So she cooked up this fantasy, planted clues for you to find, hoping you'd turn against us. Lillian glanced at me, uncertain. The medical records match. The illness was real. Veronica shrugged. "Exactly. She had months left and decided to burn everything down with her. It's just one last sick game." The words landed heavy. I thought of the rose petal, the coordinates, the camera, all leading me here. Was it love guiding me or manipulation? Veronica shifted the laptop, keeping the stun gun trained. "I'm taking this. You two are going upstairs. We'll forget this happened if you sign the papers tomorrow. Otherwise, things get unpleasant." She opened the laptop again, screen lighting her face cold blue. Eleanor's video was still paused. Veronica hit play for a second, just long enough for us to hear my wife say, "I had to protect what's ours, even if it meant..." Veronica stopped it, navigated quick to the file, and deleted it. Confirm delete. Gone. "There," she said. "No more fairy tales." But in that brief flash of the screen, before it went dark, I saw something in the background of the video. A mirror behind Eleanor reflecting part of the room. And in that reflection, clear as day, Owen stood off camera, jacket open, a small black device clipped to his lapel. A listening device. Wire. My stomach dropped. Veronica hadn't noticed, too focused on deleting. A half-truth derails everything. Veronica deletes the video, but Elias catches a detail. The reflection of Owen wearing a listening device on his jacket. That reflection of Owen with the listening device burned in my mind as Veronica herded us up the stairs at stun gun point. The remaining truth will break the whole family. Is Owen a victim or a two-faced traitor? I kept my mouth shut, hands raised, Lillian beside me doing the same. Veronica marched us into the library, slammed the panel door, and shoved the bookshelf back into place like Nothing had happened. "Sit," she ordered, pointing to the chairs by the oak table. We sat. She set the laptop down, still closed, and pulled out her phone. Typed fast, sent something, then looked at me with that cold smile. "You forced my hand, Elias," she said. "I wanted this quiet. A simple sale, but now everyone will know what kind of man you really are." Lillian leaned forward. "Whatever you're planning." Veronica ignored her, opened a new folder on her phone, and turned the screen toward us. Bank statements, transfers, large withdrawals from the charity account Eleanor had set up years ago for ranch families in need. Hundreds of thousands moved to an offshore account in my name. Dates matching times I was supposedly alone on the ranch. "Forged," I said flat. "Same as the will, the taxes." Veronica shrugged. "Doesn't matter what you say. It matters what the records show. And tomorrow morning, at a press conference in town, Titan Energy will announce their generous purchase of Iron Valley Ranch, while revealing how the current owner embezzled from his late wife's charity to block the sale. Greedy widower hoarding land while stealing from the needy. The headlines write themselves. I felt the blood drain from my face. "You destroy my name for money?" "For legacy," she corrected. "Owen's legacy, the one you and Eleanor never fully gave him." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small black memory card, held it between two fingers. "And this," she said, voice soft, "is the nail in the coffin. Eleanor's final recording, made just days before she died. I found it hidden in her jewelry box after you refused to clean out her things." She slotted the card into a portable player from her bag, pressed play. Static at first, then Eleanor's voice, weak and tired the way she sounded at the very end. "Elias," the recording said, "if you're hearing this, I'm sorry. I regretted marrying you. All these years fighting over this land, watching you cling to it while everything fell apart. I should have left sooner." The words stabbed deep. My throat closed. Lillian reached for my hand under the table. It wasn't her. Couldn't be. The cadence was off. Pauses wrong. Edited. Pieced together from old messages, maybe. But to the world, it would sound real. Veronica stopped the playback, ejected the card, and slipped it back into her pocket. "Court papers are already filed," she said. "Fraud, embezzlement, undue influence. The press conference is at 10. Titan executives will be there, reporters from 3 states. By noon tomorrow, no bank will lend you a dime. No neighbor will look you in the eye. Sign the sale tonight and I pull it all back. Refuse, and this becomes your life." She stood, laptop under one arm, player in her bag. "Think hard, Elias. Family or ruin." She walked out, door closing soft behind her. The house fell silent except for the grandfather, clock ticking steady. Veronica launches a powerful attack. Elias is framed. She presents a memory card and says, "This is Eleanor's final recording, saying she regretted marrying you. Promises that the next blow will be fatal, with no turning back." That memory card felt like lead in my pocket as Lillian and I drove back from town the next morning. The promise that the next blow would be fatal, with no turning back. Veronica had followed through on her threat. The headlines were out. Rancher Elias Thorne, accused of embezzling from late wife's charity, fund amidst land sale dispute. I was painted as the greedy villain, hoarding the ranch while stealing from the poor. Lillian gripped the steering wheel, her face set. "It's all fabricated, Elias. We'll fight it. But we need proof. Something concrete before the meeting with Titan. Tomorrow." The decisive meeting, the final negotiation for the sale, with Titan Energy's lawyers and executives was set for tomorrow. If I didn't show, they would proceed without me. I stepped out slowly, my bones aching from stress. Inside, the library still faintly smelled of roses. Lillian spread her notes out on the table. "I've been cross-checking," she said, pulling up her laptop. "Those charity withdrawals, timestamps, match. Times you were here alone. but the IP traces to a server in the city. Owen's office. My stomach twisted. Owen embezzled from his own mother's fund? She nodded grimly. And there's more. I dug into Titan's internal memos, hacked or leaked. It doesn't matter. Owen sent them a report on Eleanor's condition, months before she died. They falsified to say she was incapacitated. Signing documents under duress, using it to push the second will as valid, to rush the deal. I slumped into the chair, the weight crushing me. Owen, the boy we raised, had betrayed both of us, falsifying her illness, embezzling, and now setting me up. I couldn't trust anyone. Lillian was my only remaining ally. Why? I whispered. We gave him everything. Lillian touched my shoulder. We'll find out. But first, that memory card. Play it. Maybe it's not what she said. I took the small black card out of my pocket, the one Veronica had brandished like a weapon, slotted it into Lillian's portable player. Pressed play. Static burst out, white noise hissing endlessly. No voice. No Eleanor regretting our marriage. Just empty sound, repeating nothing. I stared at the screen, the despair setting in fully. The card was empty, a lie, or wiped clean. No evidence left, no video, no originals from the vault. Nothing to prove the forgeries or the money, laundering or Eleanor's survival. Veronica had stripped it all away. We're done, I said, voice breaking. No proof. They'll bury me tomorrow. Lillian shut off the player. Not yet. We go to the meeting. Stall. Something will turn up. But I knew better. Elias is pushed to the bottom just when he thought he was safe. The memory card is empty. He has no evidence left to prove anything. That empty memory card meant I had no proof left. The meeting tomorrow would take the ranch and destroy my name. I sat at Eleanor's desk late that night and went through her photos again. One showed her holding a document while Owen met. A man in the background. The man wore a suit and earpiece, like an FBI agent. The listening device in the video reflection. The T3 note under the FBI letter. It didn't fit Veronica's story. I couldn't wait for morning. I grabbed the phone and dialed Owen. It rang long, each tone stretching my nerves. He answered hoarse. Dad? Owen, I said steady, no anger, just tired truth. I need to know something. What does the code T3 mean? Silence thick as the rain outside. Then a broken sound, like something cracking open. Dad, I'm sorry. His voice shattered into sobs, raw and deep. Just tell me, son. He pulled himself together enough to speak. T3 is the code name for the FBI's secret account. Eleanor, Mom, she's not dead, Dad. She's alive, in protection. She's commanding the whole operation. The room spun. I gripped the desk. Operation, the takedown of Titan energy. The laundering through the mines. She found it all when she got sick. Recruited me to flip, to feed them false info. Wear the wire. Veronica thinks I'm with her, but I've been helping Mom expose everything. Tears burned my eyes now. The embezzlement. The will. All part of it. He choked out. Mom's plan, make Veronica overreach. Commit real crimes on record. The second will I planted it for Veronica. 2, find exactly like Mom ordered. To bait her into forgery the FBI could prove. Everything reversed in that moment. Darkness lifting like storm clouds breaking. Owen hadn't betrayed us. He'd honored us. Risked everything for Eleanor's final fight. She's really alive, I whispered. Yes, he said steadier. And tomorrow it ends. Trust the plan, Dad. Just show up. The line went quiet, but light flooded in. Love's final piece, hidden in plain sight. Elias discovers the piece of truth that reverses everything. Owen was the one who flipped. Sides, cooperating with Eleanor. Elias discovers the piece of truth that reverses everything. Owen was the one who reported the second will to Veronica under Eleanor's orders. Owen was the one who flipped sides, cooperating with Eleanor. And he was the one who reported the second will to Veronica under Eleanor's direct orders. That truth turned everything around for me, and I knew I had to meet Owen right away so we could go over the plan before the meeting the next day. I drove to a quiet pull-off outside town, and Owen arrived soon after in his truck, looking tired but determined as he climbed into my cab to talk. "Dad," he said, voice low, "I'm sorry for the hell you've been through. Mom made me promise to keep you in the dark until it was safe." I nodded. "Tell me the plan from here," he explained. "Tomorrow at the meeting, I'll testify against you. I'll say the second will is valid, that you embezzled from the charity, and that you're unfit. It'll push Veronica and Titan to sign the contract fast, thinking they've won. And then you play the video copy I have," he said. "The full one from the laptop, explaining the laundering and how Mom set the trap," I asked. "What about proving her death was faked? We need her there in person." Owen smiled faintly. "Mom's handling that. She'll appear at the exact moment they feel safest. The shock will freeze them long enough for the FBI to move in. We called Lillian on speaker so all three could coordinate." Lillian answered quick. "Elias? Owen?" Owen repeated the plan to her. "I give false testimony. Dad acts defeated. We get them to sign. Then video plays, Mom appears, agents arrest," Lillian said. "I like it, but timing has to be perfect. Where do I fit?" "Stay outside," Owen replied. "Monitor from your car. If anything goes wrong early, call the agent contact Mom gave me." We rehearsed lines. Owen practiced his testimony. "Dad has no claim. The embezzlement records prove it." I practiced hesitation. "Maybe you're right. I'll sign." We agreed I would bring the signed appearance of defeat, Owen the hidden video drive, and trust Eleanor's timing for her entrance. Owen left first. "See you tomorrow, Dad. It'll work." Morning came sharp and cold. I dressed in my old suit and drove to the conference center. Owen met me in the lot, face pale but eyes steady. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready," I said. We walked in together. The room was formal, Titan executives in suits, lawyers with briefcases, Veronica smiling confident at the head. The chairman opened. "Let's finalize the transfer." Owen spoke first. "My father has obstructed this sale long enough. The second will leaves everything to me. His embezzlement from Mom's charity shows he's unfit." Veronica nodded satisfied. "Exactly. Sign, Elias." I sat slow, picked up the pen, held it over the line. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from unknown. "Control room, Elias, preparing to step into the meeting with a pale-faced Owen, receives a message with only a single location. Control room. The final piece, Eleanor, will appear at the right time for the wrong person to see. At the meeting. But where will she emerge from?" That message told me the moment was close. The final piece, Eleanor, will appear at the right time for the wrong person to see at the meeting. But where will she emerge from? Owen and I walked into the conference room side by side. The air was cold. The long table lined with Titan executives in dark suits, their lawyers with briefcases open, and Veronica at the head, eyes bright with victory. The chairman cleared his throat. "We are here to execute the transfer of iron." Valley Ranch. Owen spoke first, voice even and convincing. "My father has no legal right to block this. The second will is clear. His embezzlement from my mother's charity fund proves he is unfit to control the property." Veronica leaned forward, smiling sharp. "Well said. The evidence is overwhelming." The chairman turned to me. "Mr. Thorne, do you have any objection?" I sat still a moment, then said quiet, "No, you've all won." Veronica slid the contract across the polished table. "Sign here, Elias. Let's finish this." I picked up the pen deliberately, held it above the line. Everyone watched, breath held. Owen passed me the small drive under the table. I plugged it into the room's projector port without looking. "Before I sign," I said, "there's one thing you need to see." I pressed play. The large screen lit up with Eleanor's face, calm and alive. "If you are watching this," she said clearly, "Titan Energy's money laundering operation through the abandoned mines is fully documented. Shell companies, falsified reports, millions hidden. I gathered the proof. The second will was planted on purpose. The tax lines were fabricated, all to force you into committing crimes. The FBI has recorded every step of the way." Veronica shot up. "This is fake. Turn it off." The video continued. "Veronica knew about my illness and rushed the sale for personal gain. She forged signatures, filed false claims, all captured." The chairman reached for the remote. Enough. At that instant, the side elevator door slid open silently. Eleanor stepped into the room. Platinum hair, neat, eyes steady. 2 agents right behind her. The room erupted in gasps. Veronica stumbled back. "No, you're dead." Eleanor met her gaze. "Not today." FBI agents entered from every door, badges flashing. "Veronica Thorne," the lead agent said, "you are under arrest for fraud, forgery, and conspiracy." Cuffs clicked on her wrists as she protested loud. Titan executives stood frozen, then cuffed one by one for laundering and corporate fraud. Owen turned to me, face relieved. "It's over, Dad." The room cleared, fast agents reading rights, lawyers silent. Veronica still shouting as they led her out. Eleanor walked straight to me. I stood, legs unsteady. We held each other tight, her familiar rose scent filling my lungs. "I'm sorry for the pain," she whispered. "It was the only way to protect you and the ranch." I pulled back just enough to see her face. "You came back." She smiled soft. "I never really left." Charges moved quick. Veronica prosecuted for multiple counts. Titan leaders faced heavy penalties. Company under full investigation. We kept Iron Valley Ranch, but gave it new purpose. We founded the Senior Protection Fund, using the land and resources to help elders fight financial abuse by family members. Eleanor and I started again, side by side, not wealthy in dollars, but rich in truth and time together. Love's integrity had torn down their empire of lies. The rose finally bloomed among the steel. Full drama exposed. Justice is completely served for a final end. My dear friend, that's the end of my story. The rose finally bloomed among all that cold. Steel and love won in the way it always should. Did you feel it with me, the pain, the doubt, and then that moment when everything turned? Tell me honestly, did you like the story? What city or town are you watching from right now? I'd really love to know where you are, because it feels like we're sitting together, sharing this over coffee. Drop a comment below and let me hear your thoughts. Your words mean the world to me. If the story touched you, if it made you feel seen or gave you hope, please consider sending a super thanks. It helps me keep bringing these true life stories to you, stories about family, justice, and hearts that refuse to break. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying with me until the very end. Your support is everything. On screen, you'll see 2 more real-life stories I truly recommend. They're waiting for you. There are so many more on my channel too. If you haven't already, please subscribe so we don't lose each other. I'll be looking for your comment. See you in the next story, my friend, with all my love and respect.